So our FCPA is the CFPOA, and it generally prohibits the same kind of conduct that the FCPA prohibits, with a couple of major exceptions, and that is on the legislative side, there is no books and records provision in Canada's statute, and secondly, there is no nationality jurisdiction, it's purely territoriality. There are 23 open investigations right now, which doesn't sound like an awful lot compared to the 200 or so that are, I understand, are open here in the US. But there are 2 teams of law enforcement officials who are specifically dedicated to foreign corruption in Canada. Transparency International, it's the opening of the OECD meetings in Paris today, and earlier today, France time, there was the release of TI's report where they essentially state that Canada ranks among the worst of 40-some countries that they looked at. We're the only G7 country that's in the bottom or worst category of countries with little or no enforcement. But where I think maybe the perspective of the Canadians, the Canadian experience, might really contribute to this discussion today is that I think in large measure our Canadian clients have already been addressing foreign corruption not as an FCPA issue but as a broader, I guess more principled anti-corruption issue for quite some time. Our clients do business with the Halliburtons and the Shells and the Statoils and all of those companies that have already gone through the trauma of an FCPA investigation and prosecution. But when my Canadian oil company client sends me to Syria to do anti-corruption training, as they did a couple of years ago, and I was in a room like this full of Syrian men, and they listened to me talking about this US statute and why you need to comply with it, they do look at you like you're crazy. And so that client was really the first of a number of my clients who have elected, instead of taking that legalistic or nationalistic approach to the statute, they are kind of looking at it from a bit of a higher level, from the principled approach of what is really the conduct that we want to address from a company's value or ethics perspective. And I think in that way, it's easy to loop in the FCPA specific requirements, the Canadian CFPOA requirements, the UK Bribery Act, et cetera.